Hi guys, today I'm just doing a quick capture. I'm not going to do a voiceover or anything like that because, these are just daily practice things in my journal. I'm going to use some Art Guard on my hands to protect me as I will be getting painty as usual. So, do this for yourself. Be safe. I have some deli paper and I use this wax side to protect my book. I'm getting paint everywhere because I am a messy painter. So I will put a piece under the page I'm working on, and I will put a piece on the opposite side. I need my clip. I have a bowl clip here somewhere. Here we go. It's a bowl clip. Hold that in place. And then I'll also put a piece on this side just to protect it. What I'm doing is I'm putting notes on this side of my book to help me remember, some of the things that I did, so that when I go to do this in the future, I will have that for reference. I'm also using this tape to hold that in place. This is a drafter's tape. I'm pretty sure I have most of this stuff on my Amazon store. If you just look in the description box below, you'll see my link to my Amazon store. And if you shop with me there, it will help me with my channel, because then I can use the few cents that I get from shoppers to purchase more product to do this sort of thing with. So I'm going to mask the edge just because I don't want paint everywhere today. Trying not to be such a messy girl today. We'll see how that works out for me. Usually doesn't, but we'll give it a try, right? It's just the very edge. And if you have difficulty getting the tape off, use a heat tool and warm the tape before you try to pull it. This is my Strathmore 140-pound watercolor book, so it's a bumpy paper, so sometimes it wants to separate because it's watercolor paper. So, fair warning. Alright, so we've got it taped off, and now I'm going to use some Paper Artsy paint. I have these lovely colors. I want to use some soft blue gray. This is Niagara Falls. This one is Lake Wanaka. And we have Blue Bayou. We'll start with those. And I'll get my brayer. I'll just start moving that around without dragging my cuff through. Just trying to get some color down into the background here. I like how the paper texturizes the paint here. And you can see that it's almost dry now. That's what I want. I want that to dry fairly quickly because I want to continue working. This is a fast page today. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time. I stuck my finger in it, yeah. So now I want to add some maybe creams and yellows. Yeah, let's add a few creams and yellows. This one is butter. And I like this one. This is it's called Gold Brush, but it's an opaque paint. It's got that little taupe tone to it. Let's get a little of that in there. Oops, that happens. That happens. Just squeeze it back together. There we go. Okay, now that was a little bit more of the brown. I want to deepen this a little bit, so let me get a blue. This is double denim. I just want to use a very small amount of that. I'm going to go right to the brayer. Liking that blend I'm getting here. Okay, so I think the paint layer is pretty ready to go. So I can put my Paper Artsy paint up. Could be a little more precise here, but I don't care. I'm good with that. So here we go. Paper Artsy. Go back on the shelf. Now I'm going to grab a stamp. These are made for the gel plate. I'm good with that. I just want to put some texture in the background. And to do that, I'm going to start with, I'll start with a little, no, I don't want Distress Oxide because that's going to move. Let's do a, what color do I want? I want, something in a brown here, I think. Let's do Tree Branch. I'm not going to ink the whole thing. I'm just going to do part of it. Just getting some texture down. That's all there is to that. Take my wipe, clean off the excess, and then I might come in with one other color. This was dirty to start with, just saying. Still got ink all over it. I'm going to get a darker tone. So let me grab another stamp, and this time I will do watering can. And let's get a few other things out here. This. Nope, that's not what I want. Let's do some numbers. This is a Seth Apter stamp. That's a little bit much. What else do I have? Linear here. I'll do those. And this time, let's do a deeper blue. Let's get some words. bit of text in there. Break things up. Oops. Line in there, didn't like that. There's another line. I tell you. Alright, good enough. Alright, so we have our background pretty well built. And it's just that fast. Would that take me about 15 minutes to do a background? I need to dry. Alright, so next comes, I gotta quit saying so. Oh my goodness, I make myself sick. Next comes embossing, and I want to use powder to make sure that my page is plenty dry. So I'm just going to use my little talc bag here. I've got several different ones. And I'm going to use some embossing powder from Emerald Creek. This is Black Cherry Aroma, which means that when I heat it, it'll smell like black cherry. I just grabbed a Distress Oxide ink. This should stay wet long enough for me to emboss with, so we'll see. And it's a new pad, so it should be fairly juicy. It's got a pigment in it, so it should stay wet. So let me get this inked up really well. Get my embossing powder ready. And stamp this right here. And make sure I make good contact with the paper everywhere. And I'll hit that with that embossing powder. Get it coated really well. It's a little bit clumpy in here. I'm making a mess. Which is not too unusual for me, which is why I keep, these are just dryer sheets. And more deli that I should have had spread out underneath there. Dust that off into my tray. So I've got a start. Let's heat set that. I'm going to heat up my tool before I go to the page. Let's see if I can do this without knocking everything over on my desk. I've probably had this thing for, I don't know, 30 years. It still works. It's getting hot. Okay, so that's a good start. I also want to put some words on here. So let's get these out. These are from Catherine Scanlon from Art Gone Wild. Let me clean off my stamp. Ink off of that. This was a penny black, by the way. So I think about here. Is this right? Yeah. Dream big. Choose joy. And be happy. Let's see if I could mess this up. I might have to do this in stages, because that's not going to fit. Oops. Keep that nice and juicy. So I will say, be happy. And dream big. One more, which is choose joy. That should be embossed now. Put my Distress Oxide away. And I can dump off my excess powder. Let's try to do this smart this time. Get my extra piece of paper. Catch anything that drips over. Get my tray. Dump that into my tray. And I certainly did go over. So now we just clean up the excess, like so. Back in the pot. To use another day. And we'll get on with this. tool. Okay, and it is embossed. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it gets a little shine to the embossing. Alright, so now I can start doing some painting. I'm going to grab some gesso. For my words, I'm going to grab a pen. Let's see, what did I do with that? I had one out earlier. I'm just going to go inside of the embossed area with the pen. It's all set up for me to do that. This is a Posca paint pen that has acrylic paint in the pen. So I'm just going to quickly do this. So I spared you having to watch me paint out the image. You can use gesso or white paint, whatever you like. But now I have these water reservoir brushes that are filled with Jane Davenport ink, and I'm just going to start doing some coloration on these flowers using these translucent inks from Jane Davenport. They're kind of like watercolor when you get to doing something like this. And I'm just very loosely painting these images here. I want to put some of this yellowish tone on the edges and where the petals have curled a bit. I'm going to add a little bit of a light green. You can see it's different here from the yellow that we just used. It's a little bit different tone. So I'm going to add some of that into the foliage area. I'll add several different colors to get the depth that I want eventually. We're just starting with our base coat. So we'll speed along.